Welcome to the Haute Sugar Collective Podcast, where the sugar is hot and reality bites. I'm your host, Emerlie Miller of Neo Sugar Rush, and today we're going to be talking about why I left cake orders. So before we dive in, be sure to like and subscribe for more delicious content. Let's get started. I've been noticing a trend lately where a lot of people in the industry are leaving in droves and completely walking away from their cake business. Now, I feel like that had to do a lot with the pandemic because the whole world was forced to come to a stop. And when things started coming back to normal, a lot of people were eager to jump back into their business and try to return to normal. And once they did, they realized that it was no longer sustainable or no longer resonating with what they wanted in life. This is partially what happened to me. I was so eager to get back to normal and to jump back into my cake business. So I immediately started taking cake orders again about a year after the pandemic happened. 2021, I was lining up all these cake orders for the year and I was so excited to get back to normal. Unfortunately, February of 2021, I developed parosmia, which was a distorted sense of smell and taste where almost everything smelled and tasted like rotting dead animals with a touch of chemicals. I was considered a COVID long hauler. So unfortunately, COVID completely destroyed my senses and everything again smelled like rotting dead animals, and it was so pungent, so putrid, and so disgusting to the point where I barely could eat anything. If I couldn't even be in the same room as cooked food. I couldn't kiss my husband. I couldn't be around a lot of people. There was just so many things that would set off this, what I call parosmia smell. And if I tried to eat food that had this taste, I would sometimes start dry heaving. I would start throwing up. The first time it happened to me, I was eating an In-N-Out burger and it was tasting pretty funky to me, a little bit off. I couldn't figure out why it tasted so weird. And it wasn't as pungent the first time, but I was like, this is really weird, but I'm going to keep eating it. And suddenly my stomach just turned and I started dry heaving over and over and over again. And then I just threw up everything. And this continued to happen. It continued to get worse to the point where I had to stop eating so many things and I couldn't live a normal life. I actually was living off of sugar and bread and dairy pretty much exclusively. And that's obviously not a very sustainable diet. I ended up dropping 25 pounds very quickly, and I was so severely malnourished, I could barely function. So that summer, again, this was February, and by the summertime, I was so weak, I was so malnourished, and just not able to keep going. There was a couple times where I almost dropped wedding cakes that summer. So I almost dropped 2 wedding cakes because I just couldn't handle it. And I remember there was this one wedding cake where I think it was the second time I almost dropped one. I was delivering the cake. My husband was with me. It was a pre-stacked 4-tiered wedding cake. And normally I could carry this into a venue. And I tried to carry this cake into the venue that day and I could not. And I was about to collapse under this cake. And I was starting to get really shaky and I realized I couldn't do it. And so I had to set this cake on top of a trash can outside, on top of the lid. And I just told my husband, like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And so he had to take over for me. He has had practice with that. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. My husband does know how to carry a wedding cake. So I had to, hold on to the cake while I shifted it over to him. And he had to lift the cake for me and carry it the rest of the way into the venue. I set it up as quickly as I could and just booked it out of there. And I got back into the car. And on the way home from this delivery, luckily I wasn't driving, but I just suddenly did not feel good. I can't remember everything. I think I had like a headache. I had severe brain fog. My stomach was so upset at me because I am allergic. If you don't know, I have over 60 food allergies and intolerances. And a lot of the things that I could eat because it tasted normal were things that I can't eat because I am intolerant to it. So I should not be living off of dairy and cheese and sugar. No one should, but especially me. And so it made me really, really sick. And I remember like I had such an upset stomach. I got really nauseous and I just felt so weak and just so defeated in that moment. And so on the way home, I was just doubled over in pain. And I just realized that like I just couldn't keep doing this. And I just bawled my eyes out. I had a complete meltdown and I was just so upset. And unfortunately, I had to stop taking cake orders. I was able to finish out the summer with the orders that I did have, and that did it for me. I stopped taking cake orders at that point. And unfortunately, I just had to live with this for a while. I did have parosmia for a year and a half. So I have been healed from this for just over 3 years now. September of, I think 2022 is when I got this healed. I got a miracle cure for it and I got better. And it took from September 2022 till May 2023 before I actually started feeling like myself again. After I got a miracle cure, it still took me from September till May to actually feel like myself again by building up my nutrition again and eating better food and actually getting meat and fruits and vegetables back into my diet and actually feeling like myself. You know, some of my brain fog was lifted and I actually had some energy again, and it took a long time to heal from that. So unfortunately, that took several years off of my life, or at least it took several years from my life. I should say it that way. So unfortunately, like that happened, and I considered going back to cake orders at that point, but I'm so scared of more health problems happening. I've had health problems my entire life. I've had extreme fatigue issues. Like I said, I have over 60 food allergies and intolerances. I think I have something called mast cell activation syndrome, which I only found out recently. And I have an autoimmune disorder called eosinophilic esophagitis, where I choke on food and it causes a lot of health problems on top of that. And so unfortunately, I just did not want to go back to cake orders because it's such a physically demanding job. And although I did it for many years despite health problems, I just realized that this was not sustainable for me forever. And I did not always want to be tied down by cake orders and having my health problems get in the way of me functioning. And no matter what, if you have a cake order, it doesn't matter how you feel. You could be throwing up, you could be bedridden because you're just having a bad illness day. Like my fatigue gets in the way. And I always push through when I had my cake business, but I just realized I didn't always want it to be that way. And again, like I'm so scared of other health problems coming up. I just feel like with all the health problems I've had my whole life that I'm just waiting for something else to hit me, something else to take me out for a while. And so unfortunately, like I just feel like I don't want to do this forever. And I did invest so much time and energy and money into becoming a cake artist or sugar artist. And I've done it for so many years, and it's something I'm so incredibly passionate about. I love, love, love being a sugar artist. And I want to keep doing that. I think I've invested at this point like $30,000 into being a sugar artist. I went to a cake design college in Canada 10 and a half years ago. So I went to a cake design college. I spent a lot of money on that. I made a lot of sacrifices for that. I've taken a lot of other advanced workshops since then and just consistently taking classes. I love being a student. I love learning. I've gone on to Food Network shows. I think at this point I've done 6 Food Network shows, almost 20 episodes, and I love it. I'm so passionate. It's something that I want to do forever, but I don't want to do cake orders. And so now I'm just trying to navigate this new life of what does my business look like if I'm not doing cake orders? What can I do outside of that? And so that's where I've been transitioning online for the last couple years. Actually, when I developed parosmia about 5 years ago, although had to stop doing cake orders and had to put a hold on my life for a while, I did start doing content creation. I couldn't do these big wedding cakes and deliver them and have all the energy for that. But every now and then I would do an edible photo shoot. If you're familiar, I do hyper realistic cakes that are edible props. And I do these like big elaborate photo shoots, sometimes by myself, sometimes with my friends. And it's something that I've had a lot of fun doing, and it helped me through a very difficult time in my life. And I've been building an online presence through stuff like that, and through, some education online and all of that. And that's been great, but I have not fully monetized my business. And so that's what I'm trying to navigate right now, is just trying to figure out, what does my business look like if I'm not doing cake orders? And it's been really hard to not fall back into picking up cake orders. I definitely have had a lot of people ask me if I will still do a cake order. I do make exceptions for friends and family. And, so I'm still doing cakes. I still make good use out of my kitchen and my skill set in the meantime. But I definitely don't want to go back to full-time cake orders. And I know that I could pick it back up if I really wanted to. I did have some amazing clients. I lucked out with some amazing clients. Like, truly, I did love a part of that, and I could go back to it, but mentally, emotionally, I just don't think I'm there anymore. And so now I'm just trying to find what else is out there that is sustainable for me. What can I do instead that my body can handle? What can I actually keep up with? What can make me money even on my bad days? Because I have a lot of bad days where I can barely get out of bed. And so that's where we're at now. I do a lot of education. I travel to teach a lot. I do some collaborations with other people in this industry. I do a lot. If you pay attention to me online, I post a lot. And I am constantly looking for new opportunities out there. And you're going to be seeing that a lot more coming up. I definitely have a lot of backed up content that I've never posted, of competitions I've done, of expos I've traveled to, a lot of amazing things. So I can't wait to actually catch up with the content. So you're going to be seeing me post a lot of old stuff. Don't mind that. I had a lot of crazy stuff happen the last 3 years after I started recovering from parosmia. Unfortunately, I also had to take a break to take care of my family in a very desperate time when everything was falling apart. I was grieving family members. I was seeing some family members dying right in front of me and falling apart, and having to just keep my entire family together. That's another story, probably for another time. But during that time, I was still creating a lot of content, going to a lot of expos, and traveling a lot of places. And I have a lot of backed up footage. I have terabytes and terabytes of footage that I am trying to desperately get through so that I can start editing all of this content and posting it very late, but late is better than never. Besides trying to catch up on my backlog of content, I also have a lot of really exciting ideas for new, fresh content that's also going to be coming out hopefully very soon. I also launched Neo Sugar Academy, your new online platform for the confectionery arts. So that is going to be my educational hub for everything that I know about the cake industry. Right now, I just launched the 3D Cake Masterclass, where I teach you how to do 3D cakes from start to finish. You're going to learn how to build structures and make gravity-defying elements and make dynamic cakes that move and twist and light up and do all the crazy stuff that you see on Food Network shows. I'm also going to show you how to get onto Food Network shows and hopefully kind of nurture a bunch of future Food Network champions. I love teaching. It's something I'm very passionate about, and I'm excited to bring this new platform online. There's a lot of printables and different things that I have available for this industry, and all of it is rolling out as fast as I can right now. There's also going to be some other classes I'll be adding to Neo Sugar Academy, so be sure to check that out and keep an eye on it. So if you're interested in more delicious content like this podcast episode, where I will be interviewing other people in the industry and just giving you a behind-the-scenes look of what goes into the cake business, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow along Haute Sugar Collective Podcast, which is available on Neo Sugar Rush YouTube channel, as well as Spotify and Apple. I'm your host, Emerlie Miller of Neo Sugar Rush, and until next time, good luck and happy baking.